welcome back to Rolling the Robsons. Just want to say a huge thank you to all the people who've taken the time to like our video, comment our videos recently, or even subscribe. I've tried to reply to some of your comments, but there have been absolutely hundreds, and I mean literally about 1,000 the past week, so I will try and get back round to them. Today we're going to talk about, well, I've been talking about the price of caravans, I've been talking about the price of sites, and a lot of you have made comments about that. We're going to go on our annual trip to France. We go there every year in the summer, apart from during COVID time. I just want to compare the prices between staying in a caravan in France, taking a motorhome to France, or booking a static. There are some slight differences in price here because when we were going to go in the caravan or the motorhome, we were going to travel into France, go to Bruges, go to Germany, then go to Switzerland back up. So the actual fuel costs are a bit more expensive. But what we actually then did is look at how much it would cost to go in a static. Now you think a static would be significantly more due to the fact that they're supplying, 40 odd £1,000 static. They're supplying all the facilities on there. Well, when you take your caravan, which might be 30, 40 grand for some people, you're supplying everything. And all they kind of do is give you space, water, I don't know, just rates and things, but they're not giving you that much. And just to kind of compare what the costs are going abroad with a caravan and motorhome, or in this case, a static. So I will be using my phone at times, just look at a note to give you some ideas on the numbers. Now we are a family of 5, so for us hotels in the continent are okay, but we have to pay for 2 rooms. That's the same if we're in the UK, we have to pay for 2 rooms. In fact, what we've done is even though we could have booked a Travelodge or Premier in the UK, which would have been 2 rooms, we've actually booked in our first site to be a static caravan near Calais. And most sites in France will only allow you to book a static on the whole if you're booking for 7 nights. They often don't like you booking for less than that. But where our first site is called Camp in St. Louis, and that's where we're going to stop. So let's just give you a general overview of the prices on there. If we had taken the motorhome to France, we bought our motorhome for 25 grand, let's say that's about our kind of price range, this is how much it would have cost us to go. So it would have cost us on the Eurotunnel, it would have cost us about 200 quid one way. On the ferry, I think it was just over £100 on the way back. Pitch number 1, which is the place I was thinking we're going to, because we're going to try and stay at some places that were airs or free places as well, which brought the cost down. Pitch number 1, I think, was in Germany, and that was £416, I think, for just under a week. It wasn't quite a week, it was under a week because we started a couple of days before. Pitch number 2 was in Switzerland, which is obviously a quite expensive country, and that was going to be £400. And actually, we'd looked at just getting the ferry to reduce the costs down. We then put in tolls about £150. It might have been slightly more than that because of the distance we're going, but it's hard to work out. A good tip is if you want to find out sort of give or take prices, you can use an app called Via Michelin or via Michelin's website, and they will give you sort of ideas of tolls on the whole. We then estimated with the motorhome it would be about £400 in diesel, give or take. So that would have given us a total for 2 weeks in France for a family of 5, no food and things. And that was, like I said, using some free sites or park for night and things like that. So then were free, would cost us about £1,600 for the 2 weeks. So that was the cheapest option. But then it had the most expensive outlay in the first place. So a lot of people are coming to me going, well, actually, if you do stay in a Travelodge or whatever, or you stay in a static, it is more expensive. And that is true. But when we had the caravan, I think our monthly payment, again, I know not everyone has a monthly payment, but the monthly payment on the caravan was about £200. We also had a monthly payment on the car, which I think was about £230. So by having the big car, because we needed a big car for the caravan, and having the caravan, it was about £400 a month. Then you add on your storage fees and you add on maintenance, you're probably talking not far short for £500 a month. So to keep that caravan, the big car, an allotment, or it's a bit kind of confusing to keep the car because we need a car anyway. It's like we wouldn't have any car. We'd just probably have a smaller car if we did the caravan. Although interestingly, we've kept the big car for now because of its physical size. But we would probably save quite a bit of money from that. So all in total, that was about £1,600. And it was slightly further going to Switzerland. I then looked and thought, well, what happens if we get a caravan? Because we've been looking at caravans. Like I said, we found a lovely 2019 Challenger 590. Aldi wet settle heating, all that stuff. Second hand, and I think that was on for 16,000. That was cheaper than the motorhome. And like I said, we need a car anyway, so it is a bit odd to keep the car price in. But our car's only worth about 6.5 grand these days. About 95,000 miles. It's in great condition. We looked after it really well. If we got the caravan, bear in mind the ferry for the motorhome was £212. The ferry with the caravan was £427. So pretty much double the money to take your caravan with you because you're taking more floor space. It would then cost £80 to stay near Bruges for a couple of nights. We then looked at another place like on the way down to Switzerland, and that was another £60 with a pool for a night. We then looked at stopping at Switzerland. That was another £400 for the site there. So, that's comparative to what it was with the motorhome. We then looked at another site, I think, on the way back up, which is Campen ver Auxois, Auxois. That was £150. And then I think we looked at another site local to Calais, and that would be another £150. So tolls, again, we estimated about £150, give or take, might be slightly more than that. And then fuel, again, we estimated to be about £400. I mean, the thing is, obviously, you're using more fuel with the caravan than you probably would with a motorhome in general. But once you unhitch the caravan, you're then not having to drive a car that's eating as much fuel. Because with the caravan, we're talking 22 to 25 miles per gallon, maybe. Without it on our car, it's about 30 to 35, depending on what kind of road you're kind of going on. And the fuel, like I said, was £400. So that would bring a total of nearly £1,800. So about £300 more to go with the caravan than it was to go with a motorhome. But obviously the motorhome would have had a higher initial cost, although we wouldn't have to pay for storage. So that would have a higher initial cost on that and was a bit older. So that's the other option there. And like I said, it's not the cheapest thing, but that would be the cost of that. So then we looked at, well, what happens if we don't spend monthly amounts on caravan and car or a big expensive motorhome? I think motorhome, because we do have some savings, we're about £230 a month to have. So again, what's that? £2,600 or something. I can't do the math. Someone could probably put below for me, but it's about 2,400 of it's obviously £200. It's slightly more than that. So then looking at the option to go instead in two static, so we don't have to take anything with us apart from kind of blankets and things. The beds are provided for us, all the facilities provided by you. You've got a proper oven. You're not going to pay for maintenance. You're not going to pay to kind of like look after that the rest of the year. You don't have to pay to get it like maintained, new tyres, services, and if it's a motorhome, the normal service on the engine and the service on the habitation of the caravan. You have to pay for storage as well. So that's obviously likely to be more expensive. But like I said, if you're not paying for a caravan, that's £200 a month. That's £2,400 in your pocket compared to having the caravan. Now again, you could argue with the caravan, you can go in more often. So I'm not against caravan. I had a caravan for 3 and a bit years. We really, really enjoyed our caravan. We only 4 years. And the thing that are putting us off at the moment, like we said in our last video, is just that the fact that pitch fees are, in my opinion, a bit ridiculous at the moment. So to go with the car, Eurotunnel £78, and that's because a bit cheap we thought we would be, but that's because we found that we had a voucher. So we've been in Eurotunnel twice. Both times it's been massively delayed. So the first time we got a voucher, I think from it because it was delayed. The second time we got on, again it was about 2 and a bit hours delayed. People were just pushing in, so you had letters, and people just paid no blind bit of attention to their letter. They just literally went straight through, which a few people probably do. We're then stopping at a campsite called Campton St Louis for 2 nights, and that's £160. So that's about 80. That's 80 quid per night. I think that's too bad. They're supplying everything apart from like the blankets and the towels. So, that fortunate Campton St Louis, it's about 30 to 40 minutes away from either the tunnel or the ferry. I think that's pretty reasonable. 80 quid a night. Campsites in the UK, 50 quid a night just to put your caravan at £40. But we're then going to a site near Tours. It's kind of like to the west of Tours, so it's just above the Loire River. And we're staying there for 6 nights, and that's £561. That's got the place itself's got like a bar, it's got tennis courts, it's got activities for the kids, it's got entertainment on night time. It's got like several pools, it's got massive slides, it's got new slides in it, and that's £561. So again, that's somewhere in the region of about 80 quid a night, give or take, and you're getting all of that. Where in the UK you'd pay £45 a night, you'd be lucky if you got toilet facilities sometimes. We're then going to move a bit further up the country near Abbeville, I think it is Abbeville, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, and that is costing us £508 for a full week, so that's probably under 80 quid per night. And again, the site has a restaurant if you want to use it. It's got tennis courts. It's got a pool with slides on. Great location. Obviously, much better weather in the UK. No, the south's not been too bad, but again, in the northeast here, it was lovely and sunny yesterday, and today it's been lashing down. Because we're taking a car, pardon me, rather than taking a motorhome and things like that, the ferry is a bit cheaper. It's £113. That is just one way. Like the ferry for the motorhome was 212. But I think again, the reason for that being not as bad prices, we looked a little bit earlier, possibly getting a motorhome. Tolls again, we put 150. Fuel about 350 because it's about it's not quite a tank, but it's about 80 quid for us to get down to Dover sort of area to get the ferry, and then on the way back. So that comes to a grand total of £1,920. So motorhomes obviously cheapest about 1,006, caravans about 1,008. To go on static caravans, 1,920. So again, I'm not. It sounds like I'm being really negative about motorhomes and caravans, and I'm really not, because we would still like to have a motorhome or possibly a caravan again. But at the moment, the whole situation with the pitch fees and fuel prices, etc., I did quite the other day, the AA saying that motors are still being ripped off at the pumps. The amount of money they're paying is a lot more than they should do. It is food for thought, because again, you could, I think I said it before, if you're £30,000 for a motorhome, you put that in a bank account and you're not likely to get 10%. But if you did get 10%, what's that? £3,600 of interest you would get, pay for your holiday for the year, and you've still got that 30 grand in your bank account. If you did it in different ways, you could probably make a bit more from that. But it is quite interesting when you look at the facts and figures. And although I'm not particularly old, I'm only 43, might be old for some people. I should be retiring hopefully in 20 years, although again, I know it's probably highly unlikely, but that would be a good little nest egg. So that's our plan for this year. We're not taking a caravan and motorhome because again, we think at the moment they're too expensive. Motorhomes are still selling alright. Caravans are really struggling, like caravans, especially the self-built ones, because it's like, what's it worth? Motorhomes again are not selling as well, you would think, because you think at this time of year they would you'd like fly out the door. If they're well priced, they are. Otherwise, they're not. And like I just said, a huge big thank you to everyone who subscribed to us, liked our videos, subscribed, all that kind of stuff, comments on. And as soon as we can, we'll get back round to you. So it's now just over a few weeks away until we go to France for 2 weeks. And like I said, for just under £2,000 for a family of 5, pretty good value. We did look about going away flying holiday like we did early in the year. Went to Bulgaria for a week and it was lovely, and that was about 2 grand. But we were looking at getting a flying holiday this time of year. It was about 2.5 grand was the best kind of deal we found. So I think at 1,900 and something, that's pretty good. And it just means we've got that money for more adventures in the future. And we'll look to see what's around and what we can book as a family of 5 going forward.